It is showtime. Hello, CNC brothers and sisters. I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft, and I got the point
I'm
of the
Kate
right.
Tucker. Yeah, I'm Kate Tucker with Women Who CNC. It's so nice to be back on our regular scheduled Wednesday night after the holidays. I feel like things have settled down a little bit for us. What about you?
For me, yeah, it was a fantastic weekend. Thanksgiving and birthday, all combined,
Yeah.
family and food. You can't get any better. Anyway, welcome to the
No.
Wednesday night CNC hangout where we talk CNC and where everybody else gets to talk to each other as well. And we've got a special guest on tonight that virtually all of you will be very
Yeah.
interested in seeing and asking questions and hearing what he has to say. If you are a
Yeah.
Vectric user, right? So you know that I and Kate, we both use the Vectric software, and we teach it and
Yes.
preach it that it's the software to be using. And
Absolutely.
but we only know so much. But we got Kyle Ely, who's going to be coming on board, who is the Vectric master, and very excited. So orient your questions towards
Yes.
Vectric tonight. That is what we are going to deal with. So before we do,
Yes.
a couple of things I want to share real quick. First of all, we are rolling into Christmas season. I hope everybody's making Christmas stuff, and I hope that you will send me some pictures of what you're making.
Yes.
Just so you know, this is becoming available on our website, your CNC router chucking guide. I've seen too many creators try to get as much as they can out of their router bits, and they extend them way down out of the chuck, and then they break or they pop out of the collet. And so I have come up with the rule of thirds chucking guide that you need to know about and get. And so all new packages that go out, those stickers go with them, but you'll be able to download them off the website shortly. Yeah. So we got
Very
stickers.
nice.
Yeah. And if you don't have
we
the
love
sale,
stickers.
yeah, I love stickers. You should see Julianne's little notebook. Boy, she's got stickers all over. Julianne is the girl who keeps IDC Woodcraft in check. Anyway, we also got the CNC router bit setup checklist that I have finally put together, so you don't wreck or ruin a project because you missed a step. Anyway, anything you want to share, Kate? Because we want to get Kyle on board because we have a lot of questions that are out there. Right now there's 6, but Julianne told me there were about 17. So get the star in there. Anything you want to share?
All right. Yeah. So just remember to get your questions in by 9 p.m. because that is when we are going to cut off the questions. We just want to make sure that we can answer as many questions as we can. Of course, if we finish all of the questions before that, we'll take a few more. But if you have Vectric questions, geared towards what Kyle is an expert in, make sure to get those in before the 9 p.m. mark. So. Other than that, I'm just excited to talk to him.
What's that?
I said, I'm just excited to have him back on board. We had such a great response from everybody last time. So,
okay. So right now we've got 280 people on board. So we are going to forego the hellos to everyone and just say hello en masse and bring the one and only the Vectric master Kyle on board. And hello, Kyle. How's it going, brother?
Hey, thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was great. Spending time with family. Nice to get some time off.
Yeah,
absolutely. Kyle. I agree.
Yeah, totally. I ran into Kyle over the summertime at the AWFS show. And after I left, apparently Kyle was having some fun. You went and shot some firearms, took a helicopter ride, and
went ziplining too. Gotta have fun while you're out.
Fun.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay.
Ziplining is so fun.
Yeah. I do want to share one thing before we get started on Kyle's questions. I saw a comment here from Ellen, who is one of our CNC sisters out there. I want to bring it on board. This is the result of just keep persisting in your CNC stuff. Kate, you want to read it since she is part of Women Who CNC?
Yeah, so this is Ellen. She says, great news. I locked into a company that is expected to have work for me, basically steady. So excited. I might be a little late tonight, just securing a wood supplier for my upcoming jobs. Yay, happy Wednesday. So I will tell you just a little bit of background on this. She actually has ran into someone, oddly enough. She was talking to someone at a funeral. And oh, sorry about that. And she has a jukebox company that works with her only. He's the world's biggest karaoke part, or I'm not sorry, not karaoke, jukebox supplier. And she is remaking all of these parts. So if something's gone bad on a jukebox, he sends her this, crazy looking part, and she basically has to recreate it all. And so she is working for him, and she's the only one. So all of her parts for these jukeboxes are going all around the world. So she is super excited.
Super
so
stoked.
It's kind of an interesting, it's just, the people we meet in life, I tell you what, it's just something else.
Yeah.
So
it's the point of this whole thing is, if you were getting into this and you want to turn it into a business, there's a couple things you have to do. Of course, invest in the equipment, make stuff, get practice, and get your name out there, get your stuff out there, let people know that what you do. There's a rule in business: advertise in one way, shape, or form. You've got to advertise yourself. If they don't know you're there, you can make the best stuff on the planet, but if they don't know you're there, you are not going to have your business. So bring your Vectric questions on, and we are going to start rocking and rolling. And Kyle, I hope you got some throat lozenges, because you can be doing most of the talking tonight, brother.
I'm used to it. Don't worry.
All right. Vectric questions, please. And here we go. We got a couple other. Here's one from Harold. Sorry, it's not Vectric. Am I still doing one-on-one? No, Kate is doing one-on-ones. I don't do it anymore because I am quite wrapped up in running the business. Down in the description of this video, there are plenty of links, including courses, links to Kyle's course, which we are going to talk later about. And he is currently running his Black Friday. He seems to have forgot that Black Friday was last week, and he's got it running till this coming Friday. So if you are,
everybody was busy last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he's just being extra generous. He's like that.
Right. If you're a Vectric user and you want to really just climb on board, we'll talk about it in a little while. But Harold, I do not do one-on-ones anymore. Kate does. She's linked down in the description of the video.
You got it.
All
right. So were you ready to jump in here?
Yep. Let's do it. Come on. Kyle's turn.
All right. So let's see. Mr. Sam says, can you explain the estimated time function in Vcarve desktop? It doesn't seem accurate.
Yeah, that's a common issue. And it's actually designed that way, where you have to actually adjust it to your machine. So every machine is going to be different. So there's basically two things you have to change inside of your Vcarve. And that's going to be your scale factor and your rapid rates. So your rapid rates are going to be a consistent number, whatever your machine is rated for. And that's the movement it travels in between carves. So as it's like done with one cut, it picks up and goes to another one. That's your rapid rate. So you can usually get that number from your machine manufacturer. And then the other number you're going to have to change is the scale factor. That number will fluctuate a little bit, especially between a 3D carve and a 2D carve. So that's one you're going to have to play around with. But basically, the way to figure that out is to run a project that you made in your Vcarve, see what the estimated time is in Vcarve, actually run the carve and time it. Usually your controller will keep track of the time, and then you can see the difference between the times. And inside of Vcarve, you adjust that scale factor number until that time that's estimated matches the actual time. Once they match, that's your new scale factor. And like I said, that will work for the majority of your projects. And then when you do like a 3D project, it may fluctuate a little bit. So you may have to play around with that number some more. But that's the main way to fix that.
Yeah, I did a very complicated 3D project. Lots of dips. I mean, lots.
3D is
And
hard
that-
to get a good time estimate for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was off. It was off by 6 hours.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
Yeah, that's a really big difference. All right, so let's see what we've got here. So we've got, oh, okay. Oh, sorry, I hopped that one in real quick. Hang on. Sorry about that. Question from Dan for Kate. Which woods or which properties of wood should I avoid when planning to do a resin fill? So I would stay away from any type of laminate or any type of ply, anything that is not solid. You really don't want to put resin into. That's just been my personal experience, just because it's really, it's a lot harder to ensure that you're not going to have leaks. So I would stay away from any type of pressed ply, laminate, stuff like that. But yeah, there's that.
I would add a caution to porous woods too, like oak and ash. Maybe seal them first if you plan on using those. They're very porous and suck up that resin really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We usually like to use sanding sealer to seal your projects.
Yeah.
Or
a thin coat of resin.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Thanks for bringing that up. Yep. All right, let's see who we have next. We've got Tony. It says, question, can you use toolpaths from Vectric in carbide motion for, is it Shipoko?
Yes. Yes, you can. I actually got this question today for V-Carve as well. Any machine, just about any machine can use toolpaths made from Vectric. And then carbide motion is just basically the controller software. Every controller software, you can import a G-code file from wherever you created it from. As long as that file was, the G-code file works with your machine, and that's going to be based on your post-processor that you use inside of Vectric. But to answer the question, yes, you can use Vectric toolpaths in carbide motion.
All right. Thank
There
you.
you go. What about some of the other ones? Like, what about easel?
Easel, you can save a toolpath in VCarve, and then in easel, you can still send the external G code to your X-Carve machine. I used to do that a lot. I had VCarve, or I had X-Carve machines in the past.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Very cool. All right. So
Thanks, Tony,
let's
for the
see.
question.
Yeah. All right. So we've got Benny here. I'm interested in Kyle's training. Is it a fixed time or based on time I have available?
Yeah, I made the training learn at your own pace just for this very reason, because I know everybody's busy. A lot of people's time is valuable to them. So I made it my master course, one-time fee, you buy it and you have access for life on the training, as well as any updates I add to it. You get those updates as well. So learn at your own pace.
That's pretty awesome.
You can go back and watch it again if you need to get a refresher. A lot of people will go through the course really quick, and then they'll go back and then just go and watch the ones they want to get like a refresher on.
That's really cool. That's awesome.
For those that aren't aware, Kyle is an expert with the Vectric software, and he's put together a course that takes you from the absolute beginning for Cut 2D, VCarve, and Aspire, right? And walks you through all the tools in it and how to design with it. And I guess on that note, Kyle, why don't you explain what you have as far as the course, and so that people are more clear on what this is.
Yeah, basically I just call it level 0 in a Vectric boot camp, as teaching you all the fundamentals of how the software works, how to go from looking at your computer screen to looking at your finished product in your hand. So I walk through all those steps, like a big overview. And then as we get deeper into the course, I go individually and show every single button in Vectric, how to use every single tool, how to use them in conjunction with making a project. And that's for my master training course. So that's basically showing you everything you need to know inside the software. And then I have a live training course, and that one's more practical use of the software for specific projects. So that one is a subscription based, and it's like a membership you can join. And what that does is when you join, and let's say you're working on a project you need help with, you send it to me, and I take all the requests from students, and then every week I'll just take one of those requests, do a complete project on it in a live Zoom class where everybody can join, ask questions as I'm
Wow.
doing the whole project. And then after it's done, I save the replay. Then you can watch it as many times as you want in the replay. And then also the project files, I give those to you as well. So you get project files and lesson replays. I have over 160 in there already that are included when you join. And then on top of that, I do 2 weekly live Q&A calls, just like this one, in my private membership. So I have a private community where all my students post their questions, and then twice a week I go through every single question. I don't miss any. So every time you have a question, you just post it in there, and every week, twice a week, I go through each one of those questions and give you a complete answer, record that lesson as well, and upload that to the platform where you can watch the replay of the Q&A calls as well. And then even on top of that, we have challenges, project challenges in our community. So to get your skills, to continue your skills, it helps if you practice what you are learning. So we do monthly project challenges. We have a theme every month. Students submit their challenge project in accordance with that theme. And then we have some great prizes for all the winners. And then the students vote on their favorites. So it's very fun and active community.
Wow. I'm just
Yeah,
I had no idea.
I could show you what it looks like if anybody wants to see that.
yeah, go ahead and share, and we'll pop it in.
That's pretty cool.
All right. Let me see if I can share my screen here.
Here's one of the benefits, by the way, of getting into a subscribed community is you have a lot better quality of the community as well. So here's going to pop you in here.
Okay, so here's what it would look like if you sign up, and you can see this is the levels I was talking about, and it's all in order that you'd want to learn it in. So it takes you from the beginning all the way to the advanced stuff, anywhere from 2D designing to 3D modeling and Rotary. And then we also have the live weekly training and the weekly Q&A calls. And each one of these, you'll see if you open it up, they have their own lessons in here. Like I said, they're all in order, and you can just watch them through and get a whole video there. There's comments underneath if you have more questions, and some of them have downloads that go with the videos. And then this is the live lessons I was telling you about. And these are all the student submitted projects that we go through. And you can see I have a wide variety of projects, and there's currently 168 in there. So any topic, and you'll see each one has downloads right underneath them. So you can download whatever project we worked on. You can start cutting out right away, or you can watch the replay and learn how to make it yourself. And you can see we have a lot more info on all that. And then the community, this is what that looks like. This is where we answer all your questions. So you can see we have a very active community. You post all your questions in here. We have a project share section where you can just share your projects that you're working on, give inspiration to others. And then we have challenges. These are our monthly challenges. And you can see students entering all their challenges and all the projects.
I love flag projects.
Wow.
And these are our weekly calls. So as you can see, we have a spot where you can see all the calls coming up, and there's 3 a week. So 2 Q&A calls, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then a live project lesson every Thursday. So very active community.
Very cool.
And everybody gets their questions answered. So everybody loves it.
Okay. Very cool. Now, I don't want to ask a redundant question, but that was a lot of information. So I just want to try to clarify. So you have two classes or 2 different segments of sessions that you can purchase, right?
Correct. There's 2 main offerings.
So you have
So if you want the one-time fee for the master course, that gives you all the levels, which shows you how to use everything inside the software. And then the other offering is the membership, which gives you access to all the live classes and the community. Those are the 2 main offerings.
Okay. Okay, but you can go ahead and buy the masterclass, and then you can also subscribe as well.
Yeah, you can do both. Most of my students will do both because they'll get value out of
Okay.
both of them.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, it seems kind of silly not to do both. So, I mean, that's a ton of information, just like right at your fingertips. And like Garrett and I preach all the time, it's knowledge is everything. I've even said it so many times. If you have a CNC, it's just a really large paperweight. If you don't take the time to invest in your knowledge to really, stretch and grow and make the investment into yourself. I mean, you're putting tools, and if you're just buying bits to break bits because you're struggling with your CNC, this is the time you need to pause and get some education, whether it's from a really great platform like Kyle's, or you just need some one-on-one help from like a particular project. You can reach out to me, or there's all these communities. So don't feel like you're alone, because there are so many opportunities for you to take advantage of.
Right.
Yep, I agree.
So.
Yep. Okay. So now you know. Now you know what Kyle's got out there. He's the only one that's got a Vectric course. So, but let's dive into his knowledge, so you see what kind of stuff you can get out of it. All right, let's bring on a couple more questions here. Kate, go ahead.
All right, so we've got George. Can you use some of the design on design and make, and afterwards get into trouble if you sell the projects using one of them?
Yeah, design and make. When you purchase them, you'll see they have like a license agreement. They allow you to design to sell the projects, the physical products that you make with their files. You just can't sell their digital files. But just read their stipulations, just make sure. But as far as I know, that's the way it is. And I think the only thing they limit that on is if you're like mass producing large quantities, but most of us aren't doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. So for those you don't know, design and make is the
Vectric
project file side of Vectric.
Yes.
Where you can buy projects off of Vectric themselves.
Yeah, and you can import them right into your clip art library, which is convenient.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So up next we have Larry. Question: talk about the molding profile.
Okay, I think he's talking about the molding toolpath, I believe.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite toolpaths, because there's almost no limit to that toolpath. You can do some amazing things with that. Anything from making molding that you're trying to match an old house or some old architecture, or you can make picture frames. You can even use that for rotary projects to make spindles. You could make, I've made all kinds of crazy things with that. But basically for that toolpath, you need two main things. First off, you need to have V-Carve or Aspire to use it. Cut 2D doesn't have that toolpath, but you need two main things for that toolpath. That's going to be a side view of your profile that you're trying to cut. And then you need a drive rail, at least one drive rail. And the drive rail can be open vectors or closed vectors. So you can have a box, a circle, or just a straight line, or even a curved or lines with many points. But what you do is you select your drive rail, and then you select your side profile, and that side profile gets attached to that drive rail, and you could cut that shape with that toolpath onto that drive rail. So it's really cool. You can make curved molding with that and everything. So I know Vectric has a really good video on their YouTube channel if you need more information on that.
Okay.
Yeah, molding toolpath. Cool. I made some very interesting molding. That actually, the contour of the molding was kind of like that. It was almost like an S shape, and then that was the shape of the molding. And then it had this kind of weird contour that it had to do. The molding toolpath is a class in and of itself, I would say.
For sure.
Yeah,
I made this really cool curved desk with it before, and it was, people were amazed how they look. It looks really complicated, but it was actually really easy with the molding toolpath.
Right.
Yeah.
Molding toolpaths. Yeah, we could go into it here tonight, but that would probably take up the whole hour and a half.
For sure.
And yeah.
In fact, I have a whole hour class on my live training where I went over that specific toolpath.
Right. Oh, but that just gives you an idea of the power that Vectric has too.
Yeah, for sure.
You can take old molding, which is what I did, and and just duplicated it. And the guy was able to reinstall it in his house because it was rotten. The other one.
Oh,
was
yeah.
rotten.
Oh man, that's so cool though. I mean, can you think about all the opportunities that one toolpath could provide for your business if you needed something like that?
Well,
That would
hell
be
yeah.
pretty cool. All right. Let's see. So we have Scott. How useful, necessary would Aspire be with a 4th axis CNC?
Yeah, so Aspire, you could do a lot of things with the 4th axis. There are some limitations. I will say that Aspire is not the best software for 4th axis, but it still can do a lot of things. So you can do any type of 3D models. You can even go to websites like for 3D printing and get 3D models off of there, and you can make complete round sculptures out of that. They don't even have to be round. There's could be full 3D sculptures. The only thing you're limited there is undercuts. So if there's any undercuts in your model, that's going to be a limitation with Aspire because it is relief-based modeling and not parametric-based modeling. So it will fill in all those undercuts. But other than that, you can still make sculptures, you can make spindles, you can make all kinds of things with the 4th axis.
Kyle, will you explain the difference between Cut 2D, V-Carve, and Aspire?
Yeah, so Cut 2D is just like it sounds. It's for 2D. So if you're cutting countertops, if you're cutting cabinet parts, anything that's flat and you're just cutting profiles and pockets and drilling holes, that's perfectly great just for Cut 2D. And then when you go up to V-Carve, that's going to be more for signage. So if you're making V-Carve signs, if you're making the molding toolpath, or even 3D carves, V-Carve can still do 3D carving. The limitation with V-Carve, though, is you cannot create your own custom 3D models. You can do extent, but it's very limited. And then Aspire is going to be more when you want to get into custom 3D modeling. And Aspire is the highest package that Vectric offers. And by the way, each package they're all basically the same tools inside, except every time you go up a level, you get more tools and more features in each one. And the nice thing that Vectric offers is you can start with any package, and when you upgrade to another one, you only pay the price difference. So the price is going to be the same no matter where you start. Generally, I recommend people start with V-Carve Pro. That's one of the most common ones. If your budget's a little tight, then you could start out with V-Carve Desktop, but you're going to be limited on the size you can make. Desktop only allows you to do 24-inch square. And you can tile projects, but it gets a little annoying if you have a large machine. And then if you're only cutting simple shapes, you can start out with Cut 2D Pro. But I only recommend Aspire if you want to custom 3D model stuff. If you're not doing that, then you don't need that at all. A lot of people will buy that, and then that's a $2,000 software, whereas V-Carve Pro, which is the next one down, is a $700 software. So if you don't need Aspire for custom 3D modeling, start with V-Carve. Even if you want to get into 3D modeling, you can start with V-Carve and upgrade later when you get more comfortable with the software.
Yeah. And you can have, there's so many people out in the groups, like the CNC entrepreneurs. You have Vectric tips and trips. These are Facebook groups, right?
Yep.
So, and women who CNC, right? And you can ask people in there if they can design up models, right? That's part of what CNC entrepreneurs is for, is to network and get that help, right?
That's what I
go ahead.
That's what I recommend. If you're running a business and sitting at a computer 3D modeling just intricate designs, it doesn't sound appealing to you, just outsource that, and you can stay with V-Carve and still cut the models. And then I have on my website, I even have a recommendation list of 3D modelers. You can contact one of them. Usually you can get a 3D model made for $30 to $100, somewhere in that range. If it's going to save you 10 hours of design time for $100, it's worth it.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I just had that conversation with one of my students today, and he was asking me about upgrading to Aspire versus just having models done. And I said, well, if you're going to be in the business of doing 3D models and that's something that you want to learn, then yeah, I mean, it could be worth the money. But if you just want like one or two or the every now and then just hire it out and,
Yeah. And some people
move
enjoy
on
the
down the
3D
road.
modeling. Yeah, if you enjoy the 3D modeling process and you're not worried about making high profits on, if you're just doing it as a hobby, then yeah, it's perfectly fine. Get Aspire, and it's a really fun program to make anything you'd want.
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
let's start hammering through some more Vectric questions.
All right. I see him. I see him popping up.
Yep.
All right. This is from Dennis. He says, how do you use V-Carve with Glowforge?
Yeah, I have a laser. I don't have a Glowforge, but I do have a laser. I have a OM Tech laser, and I use Lightburn. So I'm not familiar with Glowforge, but it should be the same process. And basically, I use V-Carve. I actually use Aspire, but same difference there. But I'm more comfortable designing in Aspire because I'm really used to the program. So what I do is I design in Aspire, and then I export those designs as SVG files. So you could just go to File, Export, SVG, select the items you want to export, and then you would save that to your computer. And then if you go into your Glowforge or Lightburn software, you can go to File, Import, SVG, and that design will come right in there. And then you just set your toolpaths in your laser software, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah. And on that note, you don't have to create these files that he's talking about in the Aspire. You can do it in the V-Carve. Can you do it in the Cut 2D as well?
Yep. All Vectric platforms will allow you to export as SVGs. The only thing you can't do it with is if you're using a trial version, the free trial.
Gotcha.
All right. Mr. Bob says, is there a way to see the number of passes in the roughing and finishing toolpaths like there is in the profile? So I think he's meaning the roughing and finishing 3D.
Yeah. So only the roughing toolpath makes multiple passes. The 3D finish toolpath never makes more than one pass. That's always one full pass, full depth, right to the surface of your model. But for the roughing, Vectric does not provide that number of how many passes it takes. But if you go to your toolpath settings and go to your tool database, and where it says depth per pass, let's say you're cutting 1 inch deep and you set it to 1/4 inch, you can just divide the total depth by the depth per pass. That should give you around 4 passes for that example. That's the only way really to figure out how many passes you're going for the roughing. Unfortunately, they don't give you that number.
Yeah, can you, while we're on this subject, would you mind elaborating on the Z level for the roughing, the Z level, and is it 3D raster?
Yes. Yeah. You're talking about the different strategies. So there's a Z level strategy for the 3D roughing toolpath and 3D raster. So 3D raster, that one's a more common one. That's when you're just cutting in one direction, going back and forth. And you could set the angle. So you can go 0 degrees will go left to right, 90 will go top to bottom in the y-axis, and then you can go any angle in between. That one is really handy, especially if you want to cut with the grain or against the grain, depending on your material. And then the Z level, that one's more like pockets. So basically, if you have like a 3D dome, it'll like pocket around it and make it in multiple passes. And it's basically like doing a pocket, then going to the next level, doing a pocket, and then going down and just doing a bunch of pocket passes. That one is generally a little bit quicker, and that one gives you a little bit more options as well in the settings.
Yeah, I was going to say one I normally use, but that came up in a session, and I was like, I need to look into that. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, and they have 2 options.
I have noticed.
Yeah, they have 2 options in the Z level. It's depth first, or I think the other one's called Z level, or by level, I think it's called. And basically, that's if you have multiple 3D objects. Level by level will do, trying to remember here. So depth first, I think one of them will do just one part at a time, and then one of them will do all the parts together. And then it'll just do a pass on each one, go back, do a pass on another one, and kind of work your whole project. But you can calculate both of them inside the software, and you can look at the estimated time and see which one you like for the amount of time it's going to take.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you for elaborating on that.
In the 3D tool roughing toolpath, what would you say are the contingencies of using one method over the other?
I would say use the raster if you're worried about the direction of your cut. So, for example, if you have a piece of hardwood that you're trying to cut with the grain, sometimes it cuts better with the grain. Sometimes it cuts better against the grain. Normally it goes with the grain, but if it's like a wood that splits easily, like oak or something, sometimes that's not the best option. Sometimes it's better to go against. But that's when I would use the raster. If the direction of cut is important. If the speed of the cut is more important to you, then go with the Z level. That one's usually a little bit quicker.
Very cool. That's the one I normally used, but I kind of had that inclination, but I was really curious about the raster, if there was a huge difference on, you know, time and the strategy for it.
I actually just did a lesson last week on all my tips and tricks for improving cut times on 3D models, because a lot of people have those questions on how do you speed up the time, because it takes hours to cut 3D. And there's no secret formula either to make it take minutes, but it's still going to take hours, but we want to take it 2 hours instead of 10 hours.
Yeah, it's so funny that you did one last week, because Garrett and I had the exact same conversation about a huge 3D wavy flag that I'm working on. And the last finishing pass took 16 hours. And the one before the pass before that was 9 hours. And I was just like, I'm going to be at this for like a week.
Yep.
So
that's common when you're starting out and you don't. And if you have just one little setting can double your time. So usually the step over and the size of the tool, those are really important numbers to look at. The roughing toolpath, you can do larger step overs, just save you a lot of time.
Yeah,
Good.
Absolutely.
All right,
cool.
Just real quick, for those who have popped in late to our Wednesday night CNC hangout, we have a special guest, Kyle Ely, on tonight. And Kyle is he's a master Vectric guy. He's been doing Vectric for what, 10, 15 years?
Close to it, almost 15. Yeah.
Okay. And so Kyle actually has a course out called Learn Your CNC, or that's his website, learnyourcnc.com. And he has a training course that walks you all the way through the Vectric software. And so for those of you who already heard what he was talking about earlier, there are links in the description of this video to go check it out. And right now he is still doing a Black Friday sale for some reason. So if you want to jump on board, I would do that now. At least check it out. And here's my philosophy when it comes to, like Kate said earlier, when it comes to learning your software, right? We've invested in our thousands of dollars in our machine, in the router bits, and getting our shop set up, and whatever else you have invested in your dust collection system. And then the design software, the Vectric software. And now it's time to invest in your knowledge, right? It's otherwise, you're working a lot harder because you don't understand all the tools and nuances in the Vectric software. So it's always wise to invest in your skills.
Yep.
So if you're interested in checking out his course, and there are links down below in the video here where you can go to his website. I think you're running at 25% off right now.
Yep.
25% off. You got that till Friday. Friday is running that till.
Best deal of the year.
Oh man.
Yeah. So check it out.
Awesome.
And before we roll on Vectric questions, look what I'm going to be installing on my long mill, baby.
Nice.
Ooh, yeah, I can't wait.
I have one of those.
Do you?
Yeah, I have two of those actually. They're really good.
Got that from Pawn CNC. Yeah, PWN CNC. They've developed plug and play systems for the benchtop machines, and so I got them linked down below too. If you want to check it out, if you want to upgrade and get away from that screaming trim router, and then you might want to check it out. So,
I got the air cooled and the water cooled. I tried them both out.
This one's water cooled.
Yeah, I saw that. Nice.
All right, let's go back to some questions. We've got 30 of them sitting out there.
Oh boy. All right. So this is from Keith. He says, might seem silly, but how do I get my dust boot on?
Well, that opens up some more questions. First off, what machine do you have? And second off, what kind of dust boot do you have? A dust boot. So most machines will have a dust boot attachment. Some of them are magnetized, some of them are screwed on, there's all different types. and there's static ones that
Yeah.
don't move. There's ones that attach the spindle that move with it. So that's a question we would need more information on to get a correct answer. But generally, if it's a common dust boot and a common machine, there's usually some information out there. If you do a nice search for it on the internet, you could find probably a how-to guide or something.
If you got your dust boot from with your machine from the machine maker, then just call them and ask them where are their instructions for it.
Yep.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So this is a little bit bigger question. All right, from Eldon. I'm totally new to CNC and Vectric Pro. I'm not sure if I will move to Aspire. Would it be worth it to go ahead and sign up for your Aspire course now, or wait until I figure out how to use the VCarve?
I would say if you have VCarve now, stick with the VCarve course. And I offer the same deal that that Vectric does. If you want to upgrade to the Aspire course, it's just the price difference. So you're not losing anything. So start out with the VCarve, get comfortable with that. And then when you buy the Aspire training, you just get the additional Aspire lessons. So all the training is still the same for the VCarve. That will translate to Aspire. And then you just get the additional training for all the Aspire extra tools.
So
that's nice that it's just that little bit of difference.
Yeah, if they get your course, that the VCarve course, and they want to bump up to the Aspire course, you just charge the difference. They don't have to go back and rebuy the whole thing again.
Correct. Yep. And then when they just pay the difference, I'll just give them the extra Aspire training, all the advanced 3D stuff.
Okay.
Very cool.
Cool.
All right. Let's see. This is a fun question. Do you teach lacing for the 4th axis?
So I did a lesson similar to that. We made a wooden mallet, like a round one with a handle, and it had like lacing on the handle. So I did show how to do that in one of the lessons. I don't know if it's exactly the question you're asking there, but I'm sure what you are asking could translate to that same technique that we used for that handle. It was a pretty cool, almost like it looked like snakeskin on the handle.
Ooh, I bet that was neat.
You're talking about like stuff around contours like that kind of lace in there.
Sort of like that, yeah. Yeah. I don't know if that's what he's referring to, but even if it's not, even if it's close, the same technique should work for whatever he's trying to do.
Okay.
Cool.
And that's something you might probably need Aspire for.
Okay. So we've got a question here from Andy. Says, I need to make a casket. What would be the best corner detail? A box joint?
Okay, it could be, you could use box joints or dovetails, or you have a CNC, you can make some fancy custom joints. I've done a lesson how to make really cool decorative joints, and it is helpful if you can mount stuff vertically in your machine, so you can machine the end of boards. But yeah, that's however fancy you want to get with it, box joints or all the way up to fancy CNC joints.
You just have courses out the wazoo of all this kind of kooky stuff. That's wild.
I've been doing lessons for 3 years, so got a lot of topics ready to go.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Kyle, can I say something that just there's this young kid on Instagram, and I believe it's Evan's Workshop. I don't know if you've ever seen him.
I'm familiar with him.
He's this really young kid, and he does all this like crazy woodworking and stuff like that. And I just see him like becoming like this master carpenter, when he's like 18 or something crazy, because he's been doing this for years.
Yep.
So
I started
if you
woodworking
haven't,
when I was 12, I started woodworking. So I was pretty similar to him.
That's so cool. Yeah, it's so awesome. I just see like the similarities of him just being so young and having this set of skills. Like, kudos to both of your like sets of your parents, because that's just so cool to see that you're so young and you've accomplished so much and have this very intricate course in this amazing community that so many of your people are benefiting from, and all the lives that you're changing because of this course. Like, it's just incredible. It's just, it really is.
It's a win-win for me. I like making stuff like this, and I like helping people. So I got to combine my two passions and now I do it full time. So it's amazing.
Pretty sweet gig.
Yeah.
All right. We have a question here from Miss Jen.
Hi,
Is there
Jen.
a way to see your deepest carve in VCarve Pro? With that, with just V-carves and pockets, I know you can hover over a point, but I would love to know the deepest point.
Yes, there is an easy way to do that. And where your toolpath list is on the right-hand side, just hover your mouse over the toolpath that you're wondering which is the deepest point. And I think the third line from the bottom, it says max depth. That will be your deepest point. And you can also, if you have a Pro version or Aspire, you can export the job sheet right next to the Save Toolpath button. There's a Save Job Sheet button. And when you do that, that will give you the depth information as well.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do the job sheet. Where is that?
I didn't know that either.
Right next to the Save Toolpath button, there should be a button that looks like a gear. It says Save Job Sheet.
Oh, there it is. Okay, that was one of those buttons I've never even looked at before.
Yeah,
I see it.
It's the benefits of using the software so much. I know where everything's at and what they do.
Yeah, I'll share
that's
that
pretty
real
cool.
quick. Yeah, I'll share that real quick just so you can see what he's talking about. So over in they have the Save Toolpath button. That's the very last button on the right on the bottom. Right next to that is the Save Job Sheet button.
Yep. And like I said, that's only available in Cut 2D Pro, VCarve Pro, and Aspire. It's not available in the desktop versions.
Okay.
That's kind of a cool little effect to do. All right. Well, let's move on to the next question. Darren is asking, is there an automatic tool changer for the long mill? If so, is it difficult to install?
Might be a better question for Garrett.
Yeah, that's a question for me. Currently, there's not an automatic tool changer for the long mill. And I talked to them Monday, and they do not have a tool changer in their plans right now. They are currently working on two machines. One is called the Alt Mill, and it's a 4 foot by 4 foot machine, which I will be getting. And they are also, get this, they are also working on a CO2 cutter. So CO2 laser. But at this point, they're not doing a tool changer. I do know that PWN CNC is working on a tool changer. I think primarily for the Onefinity, but I think they're going to gear it for other machines as well. And they're going to have two styles of tool changers. One is an index tool changer. It's going to be a rack, a straight line tool changer, where the machine will go back, drop the tool, and pick up the next tool. And then the other one will be what they call pneumatic manual tool changer, where there will be an like a pneumatic attachment here. You release it, and it's a little tiny tool holder, a little like Cat 1 tool holder or something. Pop that out, and you pop the next one in, and it's that quick.
Okay.
So,
By the way, there's also this other company. It's called Rapid Change ATC. Have you heard of them?
Rapid Change.
Yeah,
I have.
They have a auto tool changer that just came out, and it's basically it like threads the nut for you. So instead of needing all the air and stuff, it threads it on there. So it's supposed to be more universal for other machines. So it's a new thing that people are trying out.
Yeah. The one thing that's required on that is that you have to be able to do an M4 command on your spindle. And basically what that M4 command reverses the spindle in the counterclockwise direction.
Yep.
And I know that Pawn CNC, I talked to them about it, and they said, that they have integrated that into their plug and play controls as well.
Oh, cool.
So
very cool. Very cool. Well, over the Thanksgiving break, I actually upgraded my system, and now I have a water-cooled spindle. So there you go.
Nice.
I know. I said I was nervous. I was kind of scared just because, just the setup and the integration and everything. It just seems a little overwhelming because I've never done anything like that before. But luckily, I had my husband to kind of help out. He's got that mechanical engineering degrade it. I'm like, you can put that to work right over there. I'm just gonna put that over there for you to work on, and I'll just be back when it's ready. No. No, he made me stand there and go, now this is this and this is this. And the big thing I was struggling to figure out was there was a wire nuts or ground wire, and we figured out that the ground would probably be best just to prevent the EMI and all that kind of good stuff. Did you guys agree?
Yeah.
No?
Sorry,
Yes,
what
no?
was it? What was the question?
Yeah, what's the question?
Oh, I'm sorry. If you thought the ground wire versus like the wire, is it the wire nuts that would be better?
For which part are you
Maybe?
connecting that to? You talk
Just to
about
have, just to have like a ground wire run. Is that better than like having none? Like for the
Yeah, you want to ground if you can.
Yeah,
Okay.
you got to be careful. You don't want too many grounds though.
Right.
I know if you're talking about like dust collection, I've had an issue with that where it created a static and it kept messing up my cuts.
Yeah.
So they make Amazon, they sell a kit where it's just a ground wire. You just run through your dust collection hose and you can ground it right to your
Okay.
dust collector. And that solved all my problems. It was giving like
Okay.
static feedback to my stepper motors.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. It's a little off topic of the Vectric stuff, but I've seen it many times, and so Kate, you've seen it from users, and Kyle, you've seen it from users. Machines will sometimes act funny out of the blue, and sometimes that's a static buildup in the machine, and then there's a discharge of that static, and it can only hold so much, and that discharge can go through your electronics, your brain of your machine, and cause it to quirk out a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
I was just curious because we're coming into winter, and things are a lot drier, and sometimes you tend to get a lot more static. So, it's kind of one of those wintering. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Winter preparations for our shops. You just it's drier. You get a lot more static in the air. Machines start going a little wonky. So that's why I asked the question. So sorry, I know it was kind of off topic, but it's it's a good question. All right. So just want to thank Madra, which is Ellen, for the donation of the $20. Thank you, dear. That's very generous.
Yeah. So what she did is down just under the YouTube video, there's a little money sign. It's where you can give what they call a super sticker, and that basically it's just a contribution for what we're doing here for the three of us helping you. So thank you, Ellen.
Yeah. Oh. All right.
Yeah, we also got Harold. That's Harold Mayberry, my brother, hanging out there. He's also contributed. Thank you, Harold.
Yeah. All right. So let's see here. We've got a question from Tim. I bought a file on Etsy and it came up as a text file, which is G-code. My question, is it possible to get that to work in Vectric desktop?
Personally, I do not like sharing G-code files. That's not the file you want to share, because the G-code file is specific to your machine and to your tools that you plan on using with your machine and the size of your project. So we don't know what they used in that G-code. More specifically, you'd want the project file, which would be, if you're using X-Carve, it'll be a CRV file. If you're using Aspire, it'll be a CRV 3D file. That's the file you want to use, because that one you could edit it if you need to, the sizing or your toolpaths, even the tools, and then you can just save the G-code from there specific to your machine. If you're just getting a random G-code file, that's very dangerous to use. Not saying it can't be used. It may be able to be used, but I wouldn't trust it.
Yeah. Let me explain to you why that can be an issue. For like benchtop machines, often it's not, but every machine has certain codes that it needs to have in order to know what to do, set up its parameters in the brain. But there are also G codes and M codes. M codes are plugged inside of G codes that can be a little more complex or more, I'm not quite sure how to say it. They're just codes that tell the machines to do things that our machines are not necessarily designed to do. And if as your control is reading through that code and it comes across it, it doesn't know what to do with it, and you stop right there. It comes up with an error and it says it doesn't know what to do with that code. Right. It can also cause your machine to go in places that you don't want it to go if it's got the wrong kind of code in it.
Yeah.
There's another work offset codes could be applied in that, and you've set yourself on what they call G54 work offset, and that one could have a G59 in it. All right, and that's going to a completely different place.
Yeah. So in recap, for the type of files you'd want to buy, if you're using Vcarve, you'd get a CRV file. That's the project file. However, if you have an older version, you may not be able to open a newer version file. So you need to have a version above the file that it was saved in. If you just want to use like a standard file, look for SVG files or other type of graphic type files. Or if you're doing a 3D file, look for STL files. Those would be the three main types you'd want to buy. Don't if they're just selling a G-code file, I would stay away from that.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. We have a question from George. How do I fix the ridges that keep showing up in my projects?
Yeah, that would be helpful if we had a picture or a file to look at to see what actually you're talking about for ridges. I know sometimes with 3D models, sometimes you'll see like little bumps around the edges or something. Usually that can be fixed just by changing the combine modes of the models. Usually we're switching them to merge, and you might have to play around with the height settings on them, but that will fix those little ridges if they're getting something on the edge. If it's something in your toolpath, like bumps in it, it could be, you might have to adjust your step over. So I'm not sure exactly what he's referring to there, but there's a...
Yeah, one of the other ones that I actually created a video on this is when you're getting the deeper cuts around the letters after it's been carving out a big pocket, and you're profiling around the letters, and now the letters have like deeper lines around them.
Yeah.
And that is more of a mechanical issue that has to do with pressure that's being applied to the router bit.
Yep.
Julianne, if you will find that the video, the science of down bits, and just put that link in here for them, in case that's what you're looking for. Yeah. That'll cause it. The pressure of your bits will cause it relative to how much material it's trying to remove at one time.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times you can get away with that. You can fix that by just taking a thin layer at the bottom when you get to the bottom of the cut. Set your last pass to be really thin. That applies the least amount of pressure to your tool, and you get more even and consistent cuts that way.
You got it. All right. Well, thank you, George, for the question. All right. We have Rich. Please ask how to put an array of holes to put on a curve. Crib boards. Also, can you also put an imported bitmap on a curve as well? Thanks.
Okay. As far as the holes, so if it's a circle, you can use what's called the circular copy tool. That's at the bottom of the tools on the left-hand side in Vectric. And that's in all the Vectric platforms. Basically, you draw one circle and then set how many copies you want. And then you could set your spacing or total angle, and it'll copy all those in a circle. You have to just set your pivot point in the middle of your piece. If it's like a curve that's not a circle, then what you could do is draw your curve first where you want the holes to be. And then you don't even have to draw a circle. You can select that curve, go to the tool that's next to the circular copy tool. That one's called, it's called copy along a curve, something like that. Select that, and there you can set a circle size and a number of circles and the spacing and everything, and that will just copy those onto that curve, and it will be whatever diameter circle you want. And if you need multiple rows, just make offsets of those copies.
So you are talking about down at the bottom over here.
Yep. So the third one is the circular copy. The fourth one is the copy along a curve. Yep, that one. So if you drew a curve first, you could use that fourth one there and make your circular copies. You'll just need a
Okay.
vector first before you use that.
Okay. Do you have a video on that of doing the crib board holes?
Yeah, I have several cribbage board examples in my course.
Okay.
And his other question about the bitmap along a curve, you could distort some objects, but I don't think you can distort an image. It depends on what you're trying to do there. If it was a vector, you can distort it along the curve using the distort tool, and you can also distort 3D models if you have a spire. But as far as bitmaps, I don't think you can.
What you can do though is you can trace the bitmap as you want, and once you have those vectors, then can you apply the vectors to the curve?
Yes.
I know you do the text, but can you do that with vectors?
Yep, distort tool you can do that with.
Okay, there you go. There's a little cheat.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, I love little cheats. Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
All right. We have David using
Hi, David.
alignment tool with an open vector. When selecting inside, outside, edge, or center, where is the first object going in relation to that open vector?
It would be the outermost bounding part of the vector. So if you just imagine a box drawn around the vector, say if you had a line at an angle, if you drew a box around that in vertical and horizontal plane, it'll just be the outermost of that box. So whenever you have an open vector, just imagine a box around it. And that's where it's going to be moving the object in relation to that vector.
So
All right.
just so I'm clear on that one. All right. So we have an open here. We'll do an open vector. We'll do a line. Okay, from here to here. Okay.
Yep.
And now I'm double clicking that, and that's the box that's created.
Yep. You see all those white dots? That's your bounding box. So that's where it will be referencing from if you use the alignment tool.
Okay. So if I drew another one and I wanted to align that based on the first one, right? So
Yep.
I have the small line selected. Now I'm selecting the big line. And so Vectric is going to reference that. And I'll use the centering tool, align to selection.
Yes.
And it's aligning it to the center based on that box.
Yep. And then if you use any other tools like the outside, inside, left, right edge, it will align to the outermost parts of those vectors.
Okay. So I'm using those boxes, and it's okay. So it's done it relative to the box that was created when you select it with all those 4 beads.
Correct.
All right, cool.
Very cool. Great question. Thank you, David. Up next, we have Elaine. Will VCarve ever be in the cloud versus on a desktop version?
So far, not yet, but I know the tool database, in the recent update they did, they have where you could save your tool database on the cloud. They had that before, but now it's even better where you can actually share your tool database with others. And then, for example, like Garrett could create his whole tool database for all of his tools. And if anything ever changes, once he makes a change on his and saves it back to the cloud, anybody that he shared that link with would get that update instantly, as long as they're connected to the internet.
Oh, well, you'll have to teach me about that on the side, Kyle, because I do have the Vectric database, and it is
that'd be perfect for you. Anytime you add a new tool, it just updates. You don't have to send the download to everybody again. As long as they have that link, it'll automatically update to their software. So every time you add a new collection to your website, you can just add them right into that tool database, and they'll get them instantly.
Okay. Yeah, on the IDC website, at the top menu, there is a thing, download database. So if you have Vectric, if you have Carveco, Carbide Create, or Fusion 360, you can get the databases for all the IDC Woodcraft router bits there for free.
Yeah, as far as the software itself, I have no idea if Vectric plans on doing it web or cloud based, but I don't know. I kind of like having a download on your computer and not being reliant on the internet.
Yeah, me too.
I think most of us do.
Yeah. Also, IDC Woodcraft has the router bit app too. So it's the only router bit app that's out there for at least it's got all the basic feeds and speeds and router bit information that you need. So that's available for free on Apple and Android. just go to your stores and look IDC Woodcraft. They're linked down below in the description as well.
Nice.
So
Yep.
you can get that on your phone. It's right there.
That's pretty handy to know. Thanks for sharing that tip, Kyle. That'll make a big difference for a lot of people.
Yeah. By the way,
I'll
Garrett,
be talking to Kyle about that one tomorrow.
Garrett just reminded me that I have a mobile app for my training as well. So anybody on the go, you can access the community and all the training right from your phone.
Oh, that's so smart.
That's
so cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, so when you're driving to work, right, instead of listening to music, you can watch this training course while you're driving.
Nice. No, boy, that could be dangerous.
I don't think you want to do that. Yeah.
Right.
That's more for like if you're in your shop and you want to take your phone with you and watch it while you're watching your machine.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So Kyle, here's a good question for you. Elaine is asking, how much is Kyle's course?
Yeah, so Garrett has the links right in the description. The master course, it's on sale right now, 25% off. That one is the one-time fee. So that's a lifetime. The other one, which is the membership, that's a subscription. Currently, that's at $19.99 a month, but we do have the 25% off of the annual plan if you want to try that one out. The annual plan, you save, I think it ends up being like $15.99 a month or something like that.
Oh, cool. I mean, worth every penny. All the information that you showed, I was just sitting here going, wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
You got 2 days to take advantage of it. 25% off.
Friday at the end of the day, it's the last day of the sale, midnight.
Yep. So absolutely.
Did they answer the question how much it was?
Yeah, it's down like Kyle said, it's down in the description. They can take a look.
Okay.
All right. So moving on, let's answer Darcy's question. I want to be able to do carving, but I also want to do some with epoxy inlays. How do you separate what you want, or better yet, where to stop so you can epoxy and then later start again?
Yeah, that's going to be with your vectors. So basically every color of epoxy would have its own separate vector. And you also have to plan your method on how you want to do this. So let's say you had a background. You'd want to carve the background first, pour that color, and then you would carve the additional colors on top of that. You can overlap them, and then you would carve a color, pour a color, let that cure, then carve the next color, pour that color, let it cure. And however many colors you have to do, you would do it in stages. And I actually did a whole training on that as well, of course. But yeah, basically you want to section them off to different vectors. And layers are going to be important there when you have a very detailed project, because you can get really organized with your layers. Otherwise, you just have a mess of vectors everywhere.
Yeah, and you're trying to like select, click, group, ungroup, move.
Yep.
So utilizing those layers is key.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say, just from working with epoxy quite extensively, make sure that you're letting your epoxy cure before you are diving into it with a bit. Otherwise, you're going to have a gooey mess. So make sure you're following those manufacturer's recommended instructions, because you really can tear up your bits, the project in general, and it's just not worth it. Just give it that
especially
give it that cure
colder time. The colder time of the year here, it takes a little bit longer to dry if you're in a colder environment.
Yeah,
hey, just to let all who's not watching know, no more questions are being taken. We've got a whole slew of them, and so if you want to punch them in now, we just can't handle them. We'll be here till midnight.
Yes, we would.
We've got a whole stack of questions here.
All right, let's keep moving. So we have Ron. Is it better to design a project in Adobe Illustrator and then bring it into VCarve, or design directly in VCarve?
So it depends on what you're most comfortable with. If you've been using Adobe Illustrator for 10 years and you love that software and it's easy for you, go ahead, do that. And then you can export it either as an AI file or a SVG file, and then import it directly into VCarve. You may have to clean some stuff up. Just make sure all your vectors are closed and you don't have anything open anywhere. But if you are comfortable with Vectric, Vectric is more than capable to do the whole thing. So I actually do the opposite sometimes. I use Adobe Illustrator for some graphics, and I'm more comfortable in Vectric or Aspire. I'll design my graphics in there, then take them to Adobe and just add some color to them. So it all depends on what you're comfortable with.
Great answer. All right. So we have Eldon. When I sign up for the Bootcamp Master Course, do I also have access to the community for asking and answering questions?
So yeah, the master course is its own thing. The community and all the live lessons, that's the membership. Because we do that every week and it's an active community and it's always new stuff in there. That's why it's the membership. So you can still ask questions in the master course in the comments of the videos. But as far as the weekly calls and everything, that's all in the membership option. And that's, like I said, Garrett has those linked down below. That will be the live class.
Okay. Very good. All right. Dennis, I have a specific question regarding Vectric. How easy is it to find a specific video in your course to answer my specific question? Is there a content index in the videos?
Yeah, so all my classes have a search bar. You can search, and I have keywords in all the lessons. So it's pretty easy to find lessons on something specific. But if it's like something like a weird situation you're having, that's going to be more likely you want to ask that question in our community. And like I said, I do 2 weekly calls a week. Even if I already have a lesson for that, you couldn't find it, I would see your question and I would say, oh, just watch this video. Or if I don't have a video on it, I'll just show you right away on the screen how to fix that issue.
Very cool.
Hey, I'd like to pop a different statement out here real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's from Ron. And he said, hi, everyone. Ron from Michigan. He's an industrial arts woodshop teacher. He bought Kyle's course last year. He said it's a great product, and he has used it to help teach over 100 students run their CNC. So
that's awesome.
So just another little feather in your hat there, Kyle. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Nice, Ronald. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I told you, you're changing lives. You're changing lives. All of these, it's just awesome. I just love it.
You know so everyone who's watching, you know that Kyle has a course and to teach Vectric. And for those of you who have been taking his courses, maybe state like Ron did there, you know, what is your take on it and how has it helped you? In my school of thought, we always invest in ourselves, right? And the best thing you can invest in is knowledge. CNC machines will not carve themselves. We need to have the skills to actually make it happen, right? And so investing in everything else, ultimately, we need to invest in our knowledge if we're going to really make some really cool stuff and make the best use of the software.
Yeah, that's how I got started with this. I was in the Facebook groups just answering questions, and it's like, I just seen this question a month ago, and it's just like all the questions, everybody had the same ones, but every time somebody would start, they had the same questions that the guy a couple months ago had. So it's like, wait a minute, why don't I just make training where all these questions are answered and you can just refer back to them if needed. So that's kind of how this all started.
Yeah, and rest assured, every question that you have in your designing, 100 people, 100 other people have asked that at least, right?
Yep.
That's a minimum.
Yeah.
Right?
I always get the questions like, oh, this is a weird question, or you probably never heard this one before. And usually I've heard it in some way or another. Pretty much the same thing, just a little bit different, maybe.
That's how I make videos. I keep seeing them coming up. Okay, let's get to the next question.
Yep. All right. So we have Bob up next. Kyle, what time are the live classes held?
Yeah, so typically our Q&A calls are held Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon Eastern. And then the live project lessons are Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. And like I said, those are all recorded. So even if you can't make it live, there's no big deal. You could watch the recording. And I upload the recording within a 24-hour period.
All right. Let's see. So we have another question about the course. It's from Eldon. Do you offer a bundle deal and or any military discounts on doing both courses at once?
Yeah, so if you sign up for the master course first, there is a deal on the next page of that for the membership. So you can get advantage of that deal there. I do offer a military discount, but it cannot be combined with the Black Friday deal. So if you're getting it outside of the Black Friday deal, just send an email to support@learnyourcnc.com and we can get you that military discount.
All right. That's pretty awesome. Makes it even more. You just go do it. All right. So we have.
I will say the Black Friday deal is better though. So if you want to get on that, it's a good time to get
it. Yeah. All right. Let's see. We have David G. Would it be good to take your course before you have a CNC machine or wait until you have one? New to this and doing research.
So if you're serious about getting a machine, and the nice thing about this, you can learn the entire Vectric platform before you have a machine and before you even purchase Vectric. And that's because if you go to Vectric's website, you can download a free trial, and they have an unlimited free trial where you can use the software as much as you want. Your only limitations is you cannot export your projects and you cannot save the G code. So if you don't have a machine, it doesn't matter anyways, but you can learn how to use every single feature in the software before you even buy it. So if that's something you're serious about, you could get the training, get the software for the free trial. You can wait on your machine, see if you like the software, see if you like designing things, and see if you think that's going to be something you want to do. Then when you're ready, buy your machine, pay for the software, and you're ready to go when your machine gets there. A lot of people will order a machine, and while they're waiting for the machine to be delivered, they're learning the software. So when the machine arrives, they're ready to start cutting right away. Otherwise, you get the machine and it just sits there and it just becomes a workbench. So you don't want that.
Yeah.
That's what Kate keeps preaching every time. She says, just get the software, start learning it while you're waiting for your machine.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. I will say, if I had the opportunity to have Kyle's course when I started, I would have done that, because I have showed my big, thick red notebook for tons of times when it was just Garrett and I, and I'm like, here was my CNC Bible. I would start with his videos and I would just start working my way down. And I was like feverishly writing down shortcuts and what was a polyline and how to put it on an angle, or, bitmaps and all the different things, and just started making all these notes. And then I was reviewing them. And then I just had to make time. It has to be a priority. It's just like anything else. It has to have its pecking order in your life, but it's a commitment. And that's what you have to remember about CNCing. It's not something, not for me anyway. It wouldn't be something that I could just start and like walk away for 2 or 3 months and then try to come back. It's the repetition of doing it is what's really going to make you proficient. Yep. And then working through your knowledge every day. I would work, like an hour in the morning if I had time, or an hour in the evening, and just sit down and watch a video, put headphones on, and just really focus on it. And that's what got me to the point where I am now. Just really that consistency is key.
Yeah. I compare it to, you're trying to be a bodybuilder, you're working out every day. And if you take a month break, you're going to lose all your progress. So even if you spend 10 minutes a day, do a couple reps, practicing with the software, practicing with your machine, that knowledge is going to stick. But once you take an extended break, a lot of times you'll forget. Same thing if you're learning a language or something. You got to do the reps every day, or at least every other day or something.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. All right, let's see. Well, we have Chuck up next. I have a Shapeoko 4XL. I use G-Sender and V-Carve. What TouchPro block can be used with that?
Yeah, G-Sender, I don't think it really matters too much. There's a lot of different probes you can use.
Yeah. With G-Sender, you can probe X, you can probe Y, you can probe Z, X, Y, Z, X, Y. but they've got the corner probe here.
Yeah,
And
that's what I
so
use.
they sit in the corner. They got that, and then they've got the auto probe, which you can probe V-bits with as well. And that's a function in G-Center in the probing cycle. I'll get the auto probe. Wait.
Okay, he's talking about the X and Y for the Z or for the V bits. You can still zero the V bits on those.
Yeah, so because
probes,
V-bits
only the Z axis.
Because V-bits have that taper that you can't necessarily, you have to probe with one bit and then swap it out.
Yeah.
And so this is the auto probe. All right.
Yeah,
And this
I saw
got
that.
it's got an angled base in it. And if you select the auto probe in the G Center, then you can do V bits as well as regular bits.
Nice.
It's very cool. Very cool. Julian, put the link for Longmill's website for me in the comments. And if you want to get that, then just do a search for auto probe on their website. That works with G Center. It doesn't work with any other control software.
That's good to know. All right. Up next is Dan. I've got Garrett's rounding bit set coming in tomorrow. Can Kyle give me any tips for how best to set up toolpaths for them in Vectric?
Rounding bits, is he talking about
Kyle,
ball
just
nose?
so you know, just so you know, Kyle, it's pointed roundover.
Oh, pointed roundover. Okay, yeah. So it depends on what you're making. So pointed roundovers you can use just for overing the edges of a sign or something. Just keep in mind when you have a pointed roundover, usually they have a little flat tip on them. You have to offset your vector a little bit so you don't get that flat edge around your project if you're just doing a roundover. And that can be done with a profile toolpath. So you would take your profile of your sign, offset it half of the diameter of that flat tip, and then set a profile toolpath to cut on the line of that offsetted line. And the depth will be the radius of the pointed roundover. That will give you a nice rounded over edge. And if you want to do more things with that tool, you can do beaded panels. So you can cut straight lines with them, and you just offset the lines, and that makes like a beaded panel. That's popular with that kind of tool. And I don't know, there's all kinds of things you can do with that tool. A lot of creative stuff you can get with that.
I love using mine. It's really a fun tool to work with. I like to use it on plaques and things like that for, like my kids are both big soccer players. And so like just using that edge rounding bit makes my life a little bit easier. I don't have to sit and do all of that roundover work, with the router and have stuff thrown everywhere. I'm like, change the tool, go cut them all, done.
Yep. While you're doing something else.
So
the reason that IDC only has the pointed roundover is because you can profile right on the line. You'll still get a little tiny mark at the bottom, but there's some roundover bits that are flat tipped, and you have to offset those in order to get the rounding that you want.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you can also do
That's
a V-bit.
Great question.
You could do that same toolpath with a V-bit, and that'll give you a chamfered edge.
Yeah.
That's always a cool thing you can do with the two different bits there.
Yeah, absolutely. I love doing all this stuff. It's so fun. All right, so we have Wayne up next. I have Vectric V-Carve Pro 11.016. I want to upgrade to 11.554, but it signed me out, and now I can't sign back in with my last password. What do I do now?
Yeah, your best thing, just contact Vectric, support@vectric.com. They should be able to help you with your login to your Vectric portal account. That'll probably be your best bet.
Make sure you give them or send it from the email that you signed up to Vectric with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be the best ones to help with that.
Okay. All right. So we have Mark here. Why would my V-Carve toolpath cause the Z-axis to gradually ramp down into the wood surface as it's traveling up to the first toolpath carve?
Let's see. Gradually ramp down the wood surface as it's traveling up to the first toolpath carve. Sounds like
is there a ramping function there?
for V-Carve toolpath, usually it will just go right to the spot it's going to start and drop down. There's usually not a ramp with the V-Carve. It sounds like almost his Z-axis is dropping slowly as it's moving. I don't know. It could be.
There is a ramp. It says ramp plunge moves. It does
That
have
would
a ramp.
that would only be for the large clearance tool. So there's like a extra tool you can add in there for basically clearing out for your flat depth. That's the only ramp that you can do. You can't do a ramp with the V-bit itself.
That's right. It's not letting me. It's all grayed out because I don't have anything in the clearance tools.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. Sounds like I would look into your machine and see if maybe something's loose, or I don't know if something's wrong with your Z-axis. The way it's dropping down like that, it shouldn't be. Could be something wrong with your post processor or your G code too as well. So try different toolpaths. You kind of just do a process of elimination. If it does it with other toolpaths, then it's probably your machine or your post processor.
All right. Let's go to JJ. Profiles have a last pass option for cleanup. Is there a similar option or method to clean up vertical walls for pockets?
Yeah, the pocket toolpath does not have that option, but the way you could do something similar is you can, let's say you're pocketing out a rectangle, you could just offset that rectangle just a little bit, use the inner rectangle to create your pocket, and then use the outer rectangle to just do a inside profile pass to clean it up. And you could do it in one full pass. The other thing you could do is add two different tools into your pocket toolpath. The first tool will clear out the center. The last tool will just cut the outside. And if you set the last tool to be a deep depth per pass, deep enough to do it in one pass, that will clean it up in one pass as well. That would probably be the better method to go. Just make sure your cutting flutes are long enough for that deep of cut.
Okay.
So if that didn't make sense to you, and you want to do something like that, right? Just so you know, you're trying to do some work and you need some one-on-one help. Kate is out there. She does one-on-ones. And Kyle, do you do one-on-one?
Yeah, I do. My website, there's a one-on-one training as well.
Okay. So you got one-on-one with these two guys. I used to, but I've stopped. So.
Yep, and I teach SketchUp software too. If you need help with SketchUp.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've actually used. Fun fact: I've used SketchUp longer than I've used Vectric. That's what I started out with.
The things you learn.
I know Vectric better because I've used it more often.
All right. Well, let's keep plowing through some of these questions here. We still got 21 questions. I have VCarve Pro, but have bought files done in Aspire, but they won't load in Pro. The files are shown as 3DD CRV.
Yeah, that's going to be a limitation there. You cannot open Aspire files in Cut2D or VCarve. So whoever sold the files, they would have to export. If it's a 3D design, they would have to export it as a STL file, which you can do with Aspire. And then you could upload the STL file into your VCarve software. There is no way to open up the Aspire files into VCarve. Also in Aspire, you can do file save as, and there's an option to save as a VCarve file. The only thing is when you do that, anything that's 3D in your file will get erased. It will only save the 2D stuff and your toolpaths.
All right. Well, that's a good answer to a long question. All right, so we have James here. I ordered the extended bit off of Amazon. Can I do a will call to pick the order up? I am just across the river. I'll save y'all some shipping. So he's asking Julie Ann, which is Garrett's.
I must accidentally click that. I must accidentally click that one. Anyway, no, if it's ordered off of Amazon, it's being shipped from Amazon. So we have inventory in Amazon. So we're not doing what they call FBM, which is fulfillment by merchant. There's two ways Amazon works. There's fulfillment by merchant and there's fulfillment by Amazon. All right. And fulfillment by merchant is you order through Amazon and it ships from us. We don't do that with the Amazon. So we fulfillment by Amazon. We ship product out to them. It's in their warehouse and they ship it to you. So sorry. It'd be nice for you to come on by though and say hello.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Our next question comes from Robert. While testing our one loan project on 2 different pieces of scrap wood, looks like maybe the depth of cut was different, but no change was made in V-Carve. Is there a reason why it would have to be different?
Let's see. Depth of cut was different. That was changed made in V-Carve. The pieces of wood the same thickness? If the piece of wood is thicker, that's going to cause it to carve deeper, depending on where you zeroed your tool from. That could be one option there. The depth of cut was different. No change made. Okay. Yeah, that's either your zero was off or the material was thicker, one than over the other. So if you had like a 1/2 inch piece and you cut a 1/4 inch deep, and let's say you zeroed off the bottom on the material surface or the spoil bed, and then if you put a 1 inch piece, it's going to cut 3/4 of an inch deep because it's still cutting a 1/4 inch from the bottom, but your piece is thicker. So that could possibly be the reason.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And even if you're using milled lumber, right? Milled lumber from the store, it varies in thickness. So that could be part of it too. The other thing could be a mechanical issue with your machine. If the stepper motors aren't strong enough and the force of your router can actually draw it down. Also, the router can slip in the collet if you don't clean out your collet. Every time you do a change, you've got to get that sawdust cleaned out of your collet. Because sawdust can act as for lack of a better word, it can act as a medium where in between the 2 clamping surfaces, it can slide. It's reducing the clamping area because you have something interfering with it.
You got it. All right. So we have Norris Net, Aspire versus Fusion 360. What are the differences?
Yeah, so Aspire, one of the main differences, Aspire does relief-based modeling. Fusion 360 does parametric-based modeling. So that means Fusion 360, you can do more full 3D stuff. Undercuts, you still will be limited on what you can cut on your 3-axis machine. So Fusion 360 is a much more advanced 3D modeling software. You could do a lot more things in it, but that also comes with a higher learning curve. So in my opinion, Aspire is much easier to learn, and you can do just about everything you would need to do in Aspire. There may be some small things that you may want Fusion for, but I personally only use Fusion 360 for 3D printing because I could do full 3D with that. But I will tell you, Fusion 360 is definitely a steep learning curve. If you are not very good with softwares, Aspire is going to be way easier to learn over Fusion 360. And the other thing I don't like about Fusion 360 is it updates a lot. And a lot of times the layout changes when they do that. And almost every time you open it, you have to relearn where everything's at. So for me personally, I would choose Aspire if you're just making CNC projects. If you're doing more stuff like 3D printing or something, maybe you'll want to get into Fusion 360. Also, if you're doing Rotary, Fusion 360 is a little bit more advanced for that as well.
Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know.
Hey, I forgot to say before we were talking about the two. Yeah, sorry. I forgot to say before we were talking about the tool changers, right? For that, I am getting ready to release a quick change device for the Makita routers.
Okay.
Nice.
Right. So those on the CNC Insiders list, as they already know, whenever I release a new product, they get a discount on that release. Right. So CNC Insiders is an email list that IDC Woodcraft, the other way, right there, IDC Woodcraft email list. Right. And every time I release a new product, like the Badger is one that's coming out shortly, they get 15% off of every new bit that comes out for a limited time, of course, because I'm paying them basically to take them. So, but
yeah.
So I will be releasing another product here shortly that the CNC Insiders will get a discount on. If you want to get on the list and know what these things are, get these discounts, and be the first to know when they're coming out, then that's listed down in the description as well, underneath Kyle's course links.
Yep. All right. So I'll make a quick mention. Well, you mentioned a couple things. If there are any ladies on here that do not know about Women Who CNC, we have a Facebook group, and you are welcome to come and join it. It is for ladies only. But it's a great community of women who CNC and want to learn more about it. So we also have a website, womenwhocnc.com, and we have the Inner Circle, which is our email and news list. So if you're interested in getting, discount codes and things like that, and keeping up with kind of like what Garrett's doing for his CNC Insiders, we have the same thing for women. It's just called the Inner Circle. So I'll have to go check that out within the group and get signed up. But all right, let's see. Back to the questions here. Another program question. Harley is asking, I have an X-Carve Pro. Do I need to go through easel to use a toolpath from Vectric?
Yeah, we kind of answered that earlier, but you can use easel. However, I would recommend getting a different program, like a G-code sender. Easel is fine, but you need an internet connection, and they do update that a lot too. Sometimes there's connection issues. So if you get a program like there's one called PicSender, UGS, Universal G-Code Sender. There's a wide variety of different ones you can use, but you just need a G-Code sender, and you can connect it to your X-Carve and then use Vectric to save the toolpaths, then use that platform to send it. I used X-Carve machines for quite a few years, and I used the program called PicSender. That one worked just fine for me.
Okay, very cool. All right, so we have another question here from Mr. Bruce. He says, question, Kyle, on your course, if you use the IDC link, will that help Garrett?
Yes, Garrett is an affiliate of mine, so that does help him. He has his affiliate links down in the description.
Very cool. All right, let's see here. And we've got a question from,
Thank you.
Question from Bob. Do you have any cool things like Garrett does with his mug with purchase of your course?
Swag.
I do have swag on my website. Sometimes I do offer specials like that, but right now I have the Black Friday discount going on, so that's the special going on right now. But if you want to head over to my website, learnyourcnc.com/merch, you can see shirts like these. They have fun CNC sayings on them. There's all kind of fun shirts and designs on there, and then I have mugs and stickers and stuff like that as well. I even have an ugly Christmas sweater if you want to get one for the holidays. It's CNC themed.
Love it.
We'll have to get Garrett one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yes.
we were talking here about some swag to get either a beast or maybe a hog squishy, right? So when you're
like a stress ball.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh my gosh, that'd be so cute.
put in the comments. Put in the comments. Should we get a beast squishy?
You need one of those when you're watching your machine and you're afraid it's going to crash into something. You got to get that stress ball.
Yeah. That will determine if Julianne is going to be spending more of my money. Julianne,
she's going,
Julianne is in the background here. She's monitoring everything and kicking people out if they get nasty. But she's my administrative coordinator. She's keeping us in line while we're doing this thing.
Yeah.
So just so you know, when I say Julianne, I'm talking about.
Yes, got it. All right. So let's see. We have a question from Keith. VCarve Pro long mill. I set my XYZ, then router goes to start position. When I hit start, the router leaves home and goes to start to carve, but it never comes back down to the surface. Why?
Yeah, that's going to be in your material setup in Vectric. If you're using Vectric, okay, yeah, you are VCarve Pro. So if you go to the toolpath side, at the very top, there's going to be a button that says set. when you click on that, on the bottom of that page, there is a setting there where your Z-axis will start and stop from. So you can set that wherever you want it to be. But generally, you don't want it to go back down to the surface, especially if you have a tool in there. You might crash into something. So generally, it's nice to leave a little safety distance. But you can even edit. If you want to get a little bit more advanced, you can even edit your post-processor or your G-code. If you're just changing it for one file, you can change the G-code setting where the Z stops. Or if you want to change it for all your files, you can edit your post-processor. But that's a little bit more advanced. I wouldn't recommend that if you are not sure what you're doing there.
Yeah. All right. So we have Mr. Jim. Kyle, are you going to add light burn lessons soon? How about advanced rotary?
Yes, I do have a light burn course that's in the works. I actually have another creator that's doing that course. So he already has a bunch of lessons in there already. We're working on getting a full library together before we launch it. But so that'll be on light burn, how to use them for lasers. And advanced rotary, I already have some lessons uploaded, and I'm working on some more advanced ones as well. I just got a new rotor machine recently, so I've been playing with that and having some cool projects that I'll be doing with that.
That'll be fun. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
so
we need a good light burn course out there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, lasers became very popular over COVID.
Oh,
yes, they did. Yeah, so I just wanted to pop a few of these out. So we've got Chris Dunbar. He gave $10. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
That's very nice. So up next we have George Brown. He gave $20. So
wow.
Thank you, George.
Thank
I
you so
know
much.
we've got some very.
These are folks who are supporting us for what we're doing. On the YouTube channel down below, just below the video, there's a little money symbol, and that's where you can contribute to help, with us taking some time out of our busy businesses to help you. So
yeah,
thank you.
And then we also have Raul. He gave $10. Thank you, friend. He has been a long time follower of the channel. We also have a couple more I just want to pop out here. So we also have Mad Dog. So we have Mad Dog. He gave $20, but is also asking a question.
Go ahead. Sorry.
He says,
I was just going to say, he was the guy who was walking around with me all, for 3 days at the AWR Fest. He was doing all the video for me.
Yeah, I've met Mad Dog.
When you're going to the channel and you're watching the any of the videos that I did, the interviews of the different machine companies, then Mad Dog is the one that's holding that camera. And while we're doing an interview for 10, 15 minutes, he said his arm was getting so tired holding that camera. I go, Kyle, you met him.
Yeah, we went to dinner with him. We had a good time.
Yeah, he took us out to dinner.
Yeah, Mad Dog treated us.
Really nice place.
Very cool. That is awesome of you, Mad Dog. You sound like a cool guy. So he is asking, have Garrett or Kate used Kyle's course? Great show tonight. Thank you very much. And Kyle and I actually were chatting about that just before the show, and I'm going to start looking over his course. I have quite a few women that have mentioned his course and have been asking me numerous questions about it. So I'm going to start diving into it, and I look forward to the full experience to really help my ladies out and say, he's got a course for that. He's got a class for that, so we can really, get that education out there.
Yep.
All right.
Let's try and sign up for it.
Yes. Actually, very good question. All right. And our last donation of the night is from Michael Heron. Thank you, Michael, very much. He says, I appreciate the time you all contribute to help others. Garrett, the bits have been great. New to CNC about 3 months. Thanks for all the resources.
You're welcome.
That's awesome.
And you've got two other resources right here. All right, you have Kyle, who teaches the software. Kate will do one-on-one. She's the sign making expert. She's an expert with the epoxy. So you got them all right here. And you got more. You
Yep.
got Mark Lindsay hanging out there somewhere too. Who creates
Yeah,
a lot of
I see
content.
Mark in the comments.
Yeah.
Oh, sneaky in. Hey, Mark, how you doing,
Oh,
bud?
he's
How
been
you
here
doing,
all the
friend?
time.
Oh, see? Well, I've been
Yeah,
watching, trying to maintain all of our our questions, so I don't get to hang out in the comments anymore. I used to do that, but now we have Julianne that gets to do that. She gets to have the fun and see what you guys are all chattering about.
Right.
Um,
Thank you all for contributing to this.
Yes. Thank you very much. All right. So it is we've been on about an hour and 45 minutes. How many more questions do you guys want to take?
There's 10 more sitting out there. Let's just see if we can knock out the 10. If we can't, then we'll knock it off wherever.
All right.
And for
let's
those
do
of
it.
you who have asked questions after 9 o'clock or after 8:45-ish or so, there's just too many questions to take on. So we do apologize for not being able to get to everybody to ask questions after about 8:45, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
But that just shows there's a demand for Kyle. So we'll just have to bring him back on again.
There it is. All right. Let's answer some questions. So we've got KJ. Question: what's your thoughts on the Shapeoko 5 4x4 CNC?
I personally don't have many thoughts on it because I don't have no experience with it. I do know a couple of students of mine that have it. They seem to like it. Other than that, I don't have too much personal experience with it.
Yep. I've never laid my hands on one or seen one, so I can't say.
Yeah.
I do know users that have them, and they work with them.
I've heard it's better than their older versions. I think they're all ball screw driven now. I think. Don't quote me on that, but of course the ball screws are better than a belt driven machine. So if you can, stay away from belts. Okay. They're not the best.
Yeah.
All right. We've got up next is Nest Stewart. Under the preview toolpath tab on my list of toolpaths disappeared. Any idea what I could have done and how to fix that?
Okay, your toolpaths disappeared. Okay, that could be a couple reasons. Maybe if you have multiple sheets on that project, you may just be on the wrong sheet. So right above the toolpath list, there's a drop-down box for sheets. You can switch the sheet if you have multiple sheets. If that's not the case, then maybe you deleted the toolpaths. And if you just deleted them, you can click the undo button. And yeah, there's Garrett showing that sheet option there. I don't think you can drop it down because he has only one sheet, but you can drop that box down and see more sheets. And then only the toolpaths that are on that sheet will show. And if you're on a sheet without toolpaths, it's going to be blank. So that could be the reason. Hopefully that's the reason. If you deleted them, and then hopefully you can click undo to get them back. If you deleted them and then close the program out, you may have lost them. You may have to recreate them. But that would be my guess there.
I have seen cases where the toolpaths were generated, but they didn't show up. And that would be a glitch in the software. You would have to take that back to Vectric.
Yeah, if it's some kind of glitch, then contact Vectric.
Yeah, I noticed a glitch today when I was on a session with a student. When you use the recalculate tab, so like let's say you go in and you do a pocket, so you have your 1/4 inch, and then you do your 1/8 inch, and then you go down and you rename them. You have your 1/4 inch clear, and then that second one, you could rename it the 1/8 inch, whatever. But if you use the recalculate button, well, you know where the recalculate button is in Vectric. If you hit that, it changes those names back to their default.
Yep. That's,
I'm like,
I don't think that's
why does that do that?
Yeah, it's not a glitch. It's just they don't have the ability to save all those names when you recalculate it. Basically, it like resets the toolpath. So it just resets it back all the default name, unfortunately.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. All right. Let's see here. Todd, I have a file that was designed with 10mm stock. The project uses slip joints to assemble. My question is how to make the joints larger than 10mm to fit the stock I'm using. I'm using V-Carve Pro.
Yeah, I actually have a video that might help you. It's on my YouTube channel. So if you go over to my YouTube, Learn Your CNC on YouTube, there's a video. Just look for slot width on my channel. And I show you how to change the slot width of any type of slot to fit your material. That'll probably be your best bet there. I showed 5 different methods to do it.
Yep. Julian, if you can find that, link that in the comments.
Okay.
We'll do a couple more questions here.
All right. So we have Keith, V-Carve long mill after setting XYZ and router goes. Okay. Nope. Sorry. Let me start over. I thought this was a question we had already answered. V-Carve long mill after setting XYZ and router goes to start. How do I raise my router to install the dust boot and get back to my 0 setting? I know how it goes on. It's getting back to 0.
Yeah. So so basically he's trying to raise it up so he could pull the dust boot out when he's done with this toolpath. It sounds like you could set like a button in your controller. I don't know how the long mills work. I'm not familiar with them, but usually you could set a button in there to bring it up to a certain height. You can program that number in, or in Vectric in your material setup that we talked about earlier. If you go to toolpaths and at the top you click set, and at the bottom there's going to be your settings down there. Down the very last setting is going to be your Z safety height. If you raise that higher, that will take that to the position when the toolpath is done. So it would raise it up so you can pull your dust boot out. But that only works. You have to be careful you don't set it too high and you max out your limit of your Z axis.
That's on the set.
Yeah.
That's on the set button, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And then alternatively, of course, you could just jog the machine up, pull the dust boot out. That's generally what I do. It's not too hard, but it is a little annoying sometimes when you got to jog it every time.
The set button is at the very top on the material setup side.
Yep.
When you click that, down at the bottom is where.
Yeah, it's covered up right now, but yeah, it's the very bottom there. Yep.
Yeah. Z
gap above material.
Okay, so we got to knock out a couple more questions, but before we check out, we've had Kyle Ely on, and he is the Vectric expert here, and he also has a course which you have now learned a lot about his skills, and he just like spits out the questions, the answers. I got to sit here and think. Let's see, where is it again on the software?
I got Vectric running through my blood. It's just it's just natural for me now.
Just coursing.
Right. And so this is just a taste of what he offers throughout the course that he offers. And so if you're doing the Vectric software and you're debating on it or you're struggling with it, then it's best to get the proper training. We invest in our machines and the equipment, the bits and all that. Invest in the what you really ultimately need to know anyway is how to design so you can make that machine do what you want it to do. Kate does one-on-ones. IDC Woodcraft is your router bit company, right? And I'm always coming out with new products as people ask, and I've got 2 new products coming out. Actually, 2 products and a new set coming out. And so for those who are on CNC Insiders, they know they get a discount when things like that come out. So everything that we have talked about here is linked down below in the description of this video. If you're on Facebook, it's linked up above. So currently this course he's doing Black Friday like a week late. He can't let go of Black Friday. So 25%.
No, it's generous. He's generous.
I figure everybody last week everybody's getting hammered. I know my inbox was 10 miles long, so I figured I'll get everybody the week after when it's settled down. Hopefully they're not broke by then.
That's so smart.
So if you've been sitting on the fence, if you're sitting on the fence, this is the time. He's doing 25% off to the end of the week. All right.
Yeah. Yep. And all right. So I did want to bring out one more donation that we had. Lucky Duck Woodworking. Thank you very much. That's very generous of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucky Duck.
Yeah, so we had one question I noticed down here from Eldon. He actually signed up for your course and has a question for you. He says, I signed up for Kyle's course, but can't seem to access it. All I get is if I want to try live sessions for $1 for 30 days. What do I do now?
Okay, yeah, that was the deal I was telling you about earlier. If you want to sign up for that membership, you can do it there for just $1. If you don't want to do that, there's a button right underneath that to skip that page. And once you click the skip, it'll take you right into the course. And then you'll also get an email with your login information to take you right to the course. And it's going to be called your
Perfect.
library, where you can access all the lessons.
Sweet. All right. So let's see. All right. So we did that one. All right. Let's see. So we have Ethan. How do I make holes to say for a tray to hold my bits? When I try to make circles in the diameter of my bits, the toolpath shows blank.
That's probably because your bit is larger than the area you're trying to cut, or maybe you're using the wrong toolpath. So, for example, if you're trying to cut a 1/4-inch hole with a 1/4-inch bit, the better toolpath would be to drill. So you can use the drilling toolpath to drill the hole. Or if the hole is slightly bigger than your tool, then you can use either the pocket toolpath or the profile toolpath cutting on the inside of the line. Those are the 3 main ways to make holes with your CNC. But if you're getting a blank toolpath, that just means your tool is too big for the area you're trying to cut. So either increase the hole diameter a little bit bigger, or try a smaller bit.
Very good. All right. We've only got a few more here. So Jim B says, can Vectric software support parametric modeling?
Unfortunately, no. Vectric is all relief-based modeling. You can import an STL file that was made with parametric modeling, but any undercuts in that model will be filled in. So because you can't cut underneath something with a 3-axis machine. You can do a little bit more with the rotary axis, but it'll still fill in any undercuts. You can, if you have a spire, you can do what's called 3D segmenting, which allows you to slice the model up into pieces, and then you can cut it in all sections and then glue it all together later. But as far as parametric modeling, no, it does not support that.
Okay. All right. Our last question. Actually, I think we have one more. When using the array tool, how do you determine your offset when you want a certain space in between each of them?
So the array tool gives you 2 options for spacing. One's going to be an offset, which is what you're talking about. The other one is going to be called space. I think it's just called space in between or something like that. That if you want a certain space between objects, use that second option. That will allow you to set the exact spacing you want in between. Offset, it was going to be if you want like center to center to be a certain distance. The other one, the space in between, there's an option for that, for the exact space between objects. So just choose that second option. Gap. Yep, Mark just put it in the chat. That's what it's called, the gap.
There you go. Thank you, Mark. Right? I love Mark. All right. So last but not least, we have a very generous donor from Alan Rosenberger, $20.
You know what? I got to interrupt. I got to interrupt for a second because Alan kind of figured out how to sneak in at the end there by throwing in a donation, right? That to us, it comes up in these bright colors, and all the other comments are just white and black. And you know, when you make a donation, of course, we have to respond to it. So thank you, Alan.
No,
he's working the system. Nice job, brother.
Oh my gosh. He says, thank you for all of your help. Have learned so much in the last few months. Also, thanks so much for the new bowl bit. And even though set plunge to 0.75 by mistake and bit never bent. Say that 3 times fast. They are awesome.
Bit never bent.
Nice.
Bit never bent.
That'll be your
So
new slogan for that tool.
Yeah,
that's never been bit.
Never.
Right. That's the full bit from IDC Woodcraft. Super cool. Thank you, Alan. Brothers and sisters, it's been a good 2 hours, which it is about now. So,
yes.
And Kyle has been very generous to give this time to us to help you, and we will work on getting him back here again. Enjoy having you, Kyle.
Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me back on. Pleasure.
Every time you're on board, I'm learning something.
Nice.
Yes.
Everybody learns.
I love it.
That's what it's all about.
Yep.
Amen. Amen.
I will say my farewells. Kate, say your farewells, and then Kyle, you can say your farewells, and we will check out for the night, and we will be back next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, same CNC time, same CNC channel.
All right. Have a good one, guys. I'll see you next week.
Yep. Have a great day, everybody. Make sure you get on that Black Friday offer. It ends Friday midnight. So
Yeah,
just
Black
for the year.
Friday. Yep, get it. It's in the description here.
Yep.
If you're sitting on the fence, go for it. Just go for it.
Yep.
Someone said in the comments, just sacrifice that latte and get work on your skill. All right, we'll see you all later.
See ya.
All right.